What's up, YouTube world? We have a '05, I believe, '05 or '06 Chevy Cobalt in here. She said she hit a bump and her car started leaking. I went and checked it out the other day. It's got a crack in the oil pan. Must have been a pretty good bump. So it looks like the wheels bent on the other side and the frame scraped up. So I went ahead and went to the junkyard, got an oil pan for it. These don't have gaskets, so we'll go over that and get this oil pan down. It's not too bad of a job. Book calls for like 3 hours, which is kind of surprising. It's not, I don't think it's anywhere near that. I mean, you have to clean up the surfaces and all that good stuff, but the exhaust is in the way. It's a pretty straightforward job. So we'll get it up in the air and we'll jump on it. All right, first thing I did was remove the passenger wheel and took off that plastic shield because you're going to have to get to some of these bolts up here in the front. And the frame's kind of in the way and the shield's there. So, you may not have to take the wheel off, but I went ahead and did it anyway, and then took the shield off. And there's a little hole right here in the frame. You might want to plug that up with something because there's, unless you have a good magnet. I actually dropped a socket, or a socket fell off into this little hole at the junkyard. I couldn't recover because I didn't have a magnet with me. So, and there's no other access holes in this part of the frame. You have a bolt right there. So if you want to play it safe, maybe plug this hole up with a rag or something when you take those bolts out, just so you don't lose a socket or something. I mean, if you're at the shop, you can probably get a magnet and get it out. But anyway, I was at the junkyard and I lost a socket. It kind of sucks, but it is what it is. Maybe next time I go there, I'll fish it out if the car's still there. So now, obviously, the next step will be to drain the oil. This car had like 2 quarts low when I went to check it the other day. So there's probably not much in here. I had the trailer in here. So we'll drain the oil and then we'll start taking the bolts off. Alright, so I pull this oil pan down with the dipstick tube. So you have one 10mm bolt up here that you have to get loose and take off. That holds it to the manifold. And then you have various wiring harnesses and stuff that go to that bracket for the dipstick tube. Go ahead and take those loose now. That way when you're underneath it pulling the oil pan off, they'll just slide right out with it. I think there's a wiring harness up here and the AC line goes to it. And I think there might be a wiring harness underneath that clicks into it. And then once you get all that off, the dipstick tube should slide right out with the oil pan. Alright, so I'm under the car now. You can see the frame's all scraped up and the oil pan is real scraped up. Pretty good grooves. And I don't know if the camera's going to pick this up. The crack is actually right here. You can barely see it even with your eyes. So I don't know if the camera will pick that up. But there's a pretty good crack that goes from here all the way over to here. And that's where it's actually leaking oil. And then it was coming down and going this way. But you can see that the oil pan's pretty scraped up. So whatever she hit, frame scraped up here and over here. So whatever she hit was pretty good. And then she has a mount, which I didn't see this. But this will have to be fixed too. The transmission mounts broke off here. So anyway, got the oil drain now. What we're going to do now, you got 4 18mm bolts, some big ones back here in the oil pan. I like taking those off first. So go ahead and knock those loose and take them off, and then we'll hit the other stuff next. So you can see here, I took one of those bolts out. This mount just fell off. It's completely broke off. So it's still being held up by this crossways, but yeah, it needs to be replaced at some point soon. So that's a pretty good little impact, whatever was hit. So now you got a bunch of 13mm around the perimeter here. So we'll hit those next. And then there's one going from the air conditioner compressor into the oil pan. That's a 13mm. You got to take that one out too. So as you go along and take all these 13s out that are all over, don't forget to take this one out too. You just need to take out this one. You don't have to remove the whole compressor. Just get it loose and take that bottom one out. So we'll hit those, and there's a 13 here too in the middle. I forgot, a big one. So anyway, I'll get on those. Alright, so once you get all those perimeter bolts out, the pan should come down. If you got an automatic transmission, it likes to hang a little bit on this corner, and Just be careful your dipstick too, because I don't want to hang up on things as it comes down. But other than that, you may think, well, it can't come out, but it will come out without doing any kind of jacking up or anything. So now we'll clean up these surfaces real good on the engine, and this one will go in the trash can, and we'll get the new one, clean that up, and put some RTV on it. Alright, so I removed the dipstick too to make it a little easier to install. When you do that, make sure to replace these two O-rings here. These things, if you just wiggle them back and forth, they'll come out, pull up on them. It's not too bad. So, yeah, you got these two rubber O-rings here. Go ahead and replace those if you take yours out. I just think it's going to be a little bit easier to get it back up in there because it is a pretty tight fit. You don't want anything fighting you and messing up your gasket seal. So anyway, we'll clean up the surfaces and then we'll get back on it. Alright, so after you get the surfaces clean, go ahead and run a small bead around the oil pan. Don't forget to get around here by the oil pickup. But you don't want to go super thick, just a couple millimeters thick. And I like to use the gray stuff on oil pans and stuff like that. It's got a real high heat. It's temperature sensor safe, and it's up to 700 degrees, and it cures really nice. Everyone's got their preference, but when it comes to oil pans, stuff like that, I like to use the gray stuff. So anyway, make sure you got a nice little bead around, but not too thick, because you don't want it glumping off into the engine and getting stuck in your pickup or anything like that. And now we'll go ahead and start putting this back up there. I already took the dipstick tube out, and I kind of test fit it to see the best way to get it up in there without messing the sealer up. So you might want to do that after you get it all cleaned up. Practice putting it up there so you kind of have a plan of attack so you don't mess up your sealer. So I've already done that, so I'm just going to go ahead and start getting it up there and start putting some of the bolts back. Alright, so read your instructions. I didn't realize if they changed this or what, a different kind of gray, but now it's 24 hours for cure time before filling with fluids and returning to service. So always read this. So I guess I'll have to wait until tomorrow to fill this up and put it back on the road. So always read your instructions on your sealer. I don't know, the old gray stuff, I didn't think it took that long. I thought it was like 20 minutes before oil, and then an hour or so. I think this must be a different kind of gray, Ottoman gray. I don't know, but we won't take any chances here at Hoopties, so we'll let it sit today and overnight, and then tomorrow afternoon we'll fill her back up and get her back on the road. So I still think this is the best stuff to use for oil pans and stuff like that, but it's personal preference, whatever you feel comfortable with. I don't like doing the job twice, so I use this stuff, and I will wait the 24 hours before I fill it back up and put it back in service. So that's just a little side note. Anyway, thanks for watching, and hope you subscribe. Thanks.